Forget the intro. Here it is. Number 8. Ogle 2016 BLG 1928. The Ghost of Sagittarius. According to standard models of planetary formation, planets are born in the nutrient-rich disks of dust surrounding young stars. This is the core accretion model, a blueprint explaining how gravity marbles rocks together over millions of years. For decades, we believed planets were inherently tethered to their creators. In celestial mechanics, a planet without a star is like a shadow without a body, a physical impossibility that defies the laws of cosmic birth. But in 2020, an international team led by Dr. Przymek Mraz from Caltech shattered that certainty. While analyzing data from the optical gravitational lensing experiment Ogle, they detected a microlensing event lasting only 41.5 minutes. They found a terrestrial mass object, possibly as small as Mars, drifting 4,000 light-years away in the constellation Sagittarius. There was no host star within 8 astronomical units. This world was entirely alone. According to the principle of gravitational ejection, a planet this small shouldn't be here. Physics says that to kick a planet out of its system, it needs a massive slingshot from a gas giant. However, the math doesn't add up for Ogle 2016 BLG 1928. Ejection models suggest small worlds are usually swallowed or destroyed before they can be thrown out. To find a Mars-mass world drifting in the deep breaks our understanding of how often planetary systems fail. Imagine standing on this surface. You'd see a sky so black it feels like a physical weight. There is no sun and no seasons, only the eternal stillness of a grave. You'd feel the absolute zero of interstellar space, where temperatures are so low your cells would freeze before you could breathe. It is like being trapped in an infinite sensory deprivation tank at the bottom of a well that never ends. But it gets worse. If we found one of these by accident, the statistical implications are catastrophic. It means there aren't just a few rogue Earths, there are trillions. It implies that for every star, there may be dozens of these ghost worlds. If our galaxy is a forest, the soil is made of the bones of dead planets. Is it possible that dark matter is just a graveyard of worlds we're too blind to see? If you were to be teleported there, you would experience a silence so profound it becomes a roar. You would reach for a horizon that has never known a sunrise. Your suit's flashlight would cut through the gloom for a few meters, illuminating a landscape of frozen nitrogen that hasn't changed in eons. You aren't just in the dark, you are in a place where light has been forgotten. These planets are cosmic orphans. They prove that the stability of our solar system is the exception, not the rule. We are survivors of a lottery, living on a rock that stayed in the light, while the rest of the universe is populated by things that fell through the cracks. Number 7. SIMP J0, the magnetic monster. In the standard model of magnetospheric physics, a planet's magnetic field is a shield generated by a molten metallic core. On Earth, this protects us from radiation and creates auroras. For decades, we believed spectacular light shows were reserved for giants orbiting active stars, which provide the solar wind needed to fuel the glow. It's a symbiotic relationship between parent and ward, but in 2016, researchers using the Carl G. Jansky Very Large Array, VLA, discovered something impossible. They found an untethered object 20 light-years away, drifting without a star. They found SIMP J0, a world with 12.7 times the mass of Jupiter. The shock wasn't just its size, but its energy. It was glowing with an aurora 40 times stronger than anything seen on Jupiter. According to the principles of planetary dynamos, this shouldn't happen without a solar wind. Physics says an aurora requires an external plasma source. Yet, this rogue possesses a magnetic field 200 times stronger than Jupiter's, some 4 million times stronger than Earth's. There is no known mechanism for a solitary planet to maintain a field this powerful for 200 million years without energy input. The numbers refuse to settle. Imagine approaching this behemoth. You wouldn't see a planet so much as a crown of violet fire screaming in the dark. You'd see curtains of light thousands of kilometers high, pulsing without a conductor. You'd feel electromagnetic interference tearing at your ship's electronics, a static hum vibrating in your teeth. It is as if you've stumbled upon a god that is still screaming long after its worshippers have died. But it gets worse. The horror deepens when you consider how that field is generated. Since there is no star, scientists like Melody Kao suggest the planet might be shredding its own moons to provide the necessary particles. If true, this planet is a parasitic world, fueling its light by consuming its children. It is a closed system of destruction, an engine of magnetism existing for no one but itself. If you were to enter its atmosphere, you would be fried by a radiation belt that makes Van Allen look like a static shock. You would be blinded by the auroras, which are torrents of lethal energy. You'd look up and see the sky burning with the death throes of a moon, all while being pulled into a surface that sits at 825 degrees Celsius. This world is a neon sign in the void. It proves the universe can create monsters that don't need a sun to burn. We are explorers who think we understand energy because we've mastered the fire of our own hearth. But SIMP is a reminder that there are fires in the dark that feed on themselves. Number 6. The Orion Juombos, the impossible twins. Standard theories of star formation tell us that gravity acts as a sculptor, pulling gas into singular orderly shapes. In astronomy, when a planet is ejected, it is a violent divorce. A planet is kicked out by a massive sibling, sent tumbling alone. For decades, the idea of rogue twins staying in a stable orbit was considered a mathematical fluke so rare it wasn't worth calculating. But in 2023, the James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, looked into the Orion Nebula and found something that ESA scientists said shouldn't exist. They found 42 pairs of Jupiter-mass objects drifting together. These aren't stars, and they aren't orbiting a sun. They are pairs of gas giants, separated by 200 times the Earth-Sun distance, dancing with each other in total darkness. According to the laws of gas physics, this shouldn't happen. Physics says if these formed like stars, the gas clouds would have to be far too small and cold to collapse. The lower boundary for gravitational collapse is roughly 3 Jupiter masses. These are as small as 0.6%. If they were ejected from a system, the chances of two planets maintaining the exact same velocity to stay bound is effectively zero. Imagine floating between these two giants. You'd see two massive, bloated spheres of gas, each glowing with a dim heat of 1000 degrees. You'd feel the invisible tug of their mutual gravity, a slow-motion carousel in a pitch-black room. You'd know there is nothing else for light years, just you and two silent twins. It is like being trapped in a dance with two ghosts who have forgotten why they're holding hands. But it gets worse. The number of them is unsettling. Finding one pair would be a miracle. Finding 42 suggests our understanding of how gravity handles small masses is fundamentally wrong. It means the void is populated by silent, binary systems of gas we can't explain. If these form without stars, the universe is more efficient at creating darkness than light. Could our solar system be a rare deviation from a twin-dominated reality? If you were to attempt a crossing between them, you would spend years in a freezing vacuum. You would be a speck between two titans, listening to the radio static of their massive atmospheres. You'd realize that even if you could land, there is no solid ground, only a crushing descent into metallic hydrogen that would dissolve your craft. These JWSTs are a glitch in the cosmic matrix. They prove we are children who think we've mapped the house because we've seen the living room. We are surface dwellers with no idea how the basement is structured. The universe is telling us that our rules are merely suggestions. Number 5. OTS-44, the starless sun. According to the nebular hypothesis, a protoplanetary disk is a byproduct of star birth. You need the gravity of a central sun to hold that disk in place. For decades, science taught us that a disk without a star is like a shadow without a body. Without an anchor, the gas should simply dissipate into the vacuum within a few thousand years. But in 2005, Kevin Lohman, using the Spitzer Space Telescope, discovered a nightmare 550 light-years away. He found OTS-44, an object with only 11.5 times the mass of Jupiter. Yet, it is surrounded by a disk of dust with 30 times the mass of Earth. This tiny, lonely object was actively accreting mass from its own mini-solar system, despite having no star to guide it. According to the principle of gravitational stability, this shouldn't happen because OTS-44's gravity is too weak to hold a massive disk. Physics says radiation from nearby stars should have stripped this disk away eons ago. Yet, measurements show it is accreting material at 500 billion kilograms per second. It is a planetary object, trying to grow into a star, but it lacks the fuel to ignite. It is a sun that will never be born. Imagine you are a grain of dust in that disk. You'd see a dark red orb pulsing with internal heat in the center of a swirling maelstrom of gray soot. You'd feel constant collisions, a construction site where the foreman has died. You'd know that even if you managed to form a planet, your sun would only ever be a dim, dying ember. It's like watching survivors try to build a city around a cold fireplace. But it gets worse. The horror deepens when you realize OTS-44 is not unique. Researchers at the Max Planck Institute confirmed the hydrogen flow into the object is varying, meaning the disk is alive. This means there are failed solar systems drifting through the galaxy, entire families of planets born in absolute darkness. If life ever develops there, sun would be a mythological concept, and the only heat would come from the pressure of their own cores. If you were to dive into that disk, you would be sandblasted by 1 trillion needles of ice traveling at orbital speeds. You'd be trapped in a permanent blizzard where the snow is the raw material of a future world. You'd look toward the center and see only a dull, angry glow, a star that failed the entrance exam for the universe. OTS-44 is a lonely architect. It proves that nature is obsessed with creating systems, even when they serve no purpose. We are the lucky ones, born around a star that had enough mass to finish what it started. We are the occupants of a completed house, staring at the ruins in the yard. Number 4. PSOJ, the lonely red. Standard models tell us a planet's color and energy are determined by its proximity to a sun and its age. A young planet should be bright due to leftover heat. In exoplanetary science, we expect these objects to be part of a family. For decades, if we found a red planet, we looked for the star that made it. The child reflects the light of the parent. But in 2013, astronomers using the Pan-STARRS 1 telescope found a world that shattered that reflection. They found PSOJ 318.522, located 80 light-years away. It has 6 times the mass of Jupiter and is only 12 million years old, but it was floating entirely on its own. It was a planet-mass object we could study without the blinding glare of a star, but its existence was a scientific anomaly. According to the laws of planetary evolution, PSOJ 318.522 shouldn't be this easy to see. Physics says at its age, a 6 Jupiter mass object should be cooling rapidly. However, its energy signature is identical to planets found orbiting active stars. There is no known mechanism that allows a gas giant to form in isolation without a parent cloud that would have inevitably created a star. Imagine drifting toward this world. You'd see a deep red sphere, glowing like a dying coal. You'd see clouds of molten iron, a world where the weather is a rain of liquid metal. You'd feel a warmth that shouldn't be there, a 1,100 Kelvin heat radiating from a surface with no right to be warm. It is as if you found a warm body in a morgue that has been closed for a century. But it gets worse. The real impossibility came when they analyzed its motion. It moves with the Beta Pictoris group, but it isn't bound to any of them. It's a fellow traveler that is part of the crowd, but entirely alone. This means the universe can produce perfect planets and then simply cast them into the void. If this planet had the conditions for life, that life would evolve in a world of endless, hot night. If you were to enter its atmosphere, you would be caught in storms, where the sand is actually silicate clouds. You would be buffeted by winds moving at 2,000 kilometers per hour, fueled by the planet's internal heat. You'd realize this planet is its own sun, and you are just a speck of ash being drawn into its fire. PSOJ 318.522 is a lonely masterpiece. It reminds us that nature doesn't need a purpose to create beauty. We are the observers who think the stage was built for us, but the universe is full of empty theaters where the play is already running, and no one is in the audience. Number 3. The Lost World. In standard astrophysics, we identify the mass of a rogue object by associating it with a moving group, stars born together. If an object moves with them, we assume it shares their age. This is kinematic association, a logical anchor that allows us to make sense of the dark. For decades, this was our most reliable tool for weighing the weightless. But in 2012, the Canada-France Brown Dwarf Survey found an object that turned that anchor into a weight. They found CFBD ECR 2149-0403, a world about 130 light-years away. Initially, it seemed part of the Abderatus group. However, 2017 measurements revealed it doesn't fit the group's motion. It's an orphan without a family, and suddenly, all our data on it became useless. According to the laws of stellar evolution, this shouldn't happen because we no longer have a baseline for its age. Physics says if it's young, it's a planet. If it's old, it's a brown dwarf. But CFBDSR 2149-0403 shows signs of low gravity, youth, yet has no group to prove it. The object is either a 500 million-year-old planet or a 3 billion-year-old failed star mimicking a newborn. There is no known mechanism for an old object to look that young. Imagine looking through a telescope at this thing. You'd see a bluish dot that refuses to tell you its name. You'd see a world that has essentially erased its own history. You'd feel a sense of vertigo, realizing everything you knew was a projection. It's like finding a man in the woods who has no fingerprints and no memories, but is wearing a brand new suit. But it gets worse. The horror deepens when you realize this might represent a new class of objects. If it's not a planet and not a brown dwarf, what is it? It could be a concentrated ball of heavy elements that shouldn't form on its own. We are trying to classify the universe using a vocabulary that is fundamentally incomplete. We are detectives who think we've solved the case because we found a single clue, but the evidence is pointing elsewhere. If you were to approach this world, you would find an atmosphere that is too clean for its age. You'd look at sensors that say newborn, while your clock says ancient. You'd be standing on a world that is a living contradiction, where time has lost its meaning. You are alone with something that shouldn't exist. This world is a cosmic amnesiac. It proves our laws are often just guesses. We are surface dwellers trying to understand the deep by looking at the waves. CFBD is here, and 3 is the proof that the ocean is much deeper than we imagined. Number 2. The double shadow. According to the model of binary formation, systems with 2 components require massive gas clouds to collapse. We used to think the minimum mass to form a binary was quite high. For decades, we believed small objects could only be singletons or orbit a sun. The idea of 2 rogue planets orbiting each other was a theoretical curiosity that belonged in science fiction. But in 2016, a team using the Keck 2 telescope discovered something that shouldn't exist. They found 2 mass J1119 to 1137. It wasn't one object, it was 2 rogue planets, each about 4 times the mass of Jupiter, orbiting each other every 90 years. They are separated by only 3.6 astronomical units, roughly the distance between our sun and the asteroid belt. This is the lowest mass binary system ever found in the void. According to the Jeans mass principle, this shouldn't happen. Physics says a gas cloud that small should have drifted apart before it could form two cores. To make a binary this small, you need conditions almost never found in star-forming regions. The energy output is only 0.00004 solar units. It is a system held together by a gravitational bond that shouldn't have formed in such a turbulent universe. Imagine traveling between these twins. You'd see two massive dark spheres spinning so fast they have flattened at the poles. One rotates every 3 hours, 3 times faster than a star should. You'd feel the tidal forces of two Jupiters pulling at your ship, a tug of war in the silence. It's like being trapped between two giant magnets circling each other in a dark room. You are in a system that defies the very definition of a solar system. But it gets worse. Even more unsettling is the possibility of a moon. In 2021, archival data showed signs of an Earth-sized exomoon transiting one of the components. This means we have a moon orbiting a planet that is orbiting another planet, all drifting through the dark. This is a mini solar system with no sun, a family of shadows traveling together for 10 million years. If a binary this small can exist, then the universe is littered with dark systems we can only see by accident. If you were to stand on that moon, you would look up and see two Jupiters filling the sky, glowing with a dim reddish light. You would live in a world where night is the only thing you know. You'd realize you were part of a system untethered from the galaxy, a tiny island of order in an ocean of chaos. These binary planets are a glitch in our models. They prove the universe is far more creative with its failures than we imagined. We are residents of a single sun system who think 1 is the natural number. But 2, mass J 1119-1137, is proof that the dark likes to travel in pairs. Number 1. The ice giant of the void. In thermodynamics, hot objects are easy to find because they glow. Cold objects are supposed to be invisible. In brown dwarf research, we have the Y dwarf limit, the point where an object stops looking like a star and starts looking like a planet. For decades, we believed the coldest thing we could find would still be hundreds of degrees warmer than our world. The dark was cold, but not that cold. But in 2014, Kevin Luhman, using NASA's WISE telescope, found a world that chilled astrophysics. He found WISE 0855 0714, located just 7.2 light years away, the fourth closest system to our sun. It has 3 to 10 times the mass of Jupiter, but its temperature is between -48 and -13 degrees Celsius. This is a planet as cold as the North Pole, drifting just outside our front door. According to the laws of atmospheric chemistry, this shouldn't happen because an object this cold shouldn't be detectable. Physics says at -48 degrees, the thermal glow is so faint that even our best telescopes shouldn't see it. Yet, JWST observations in 2024 have detected water vapor in its atmosphere. This rogue is essentially a giant frozen version of Jupiter with no internal heat left. It is a world that has died, yet it's still there, staring at us from the dark. Imagine entering the atmosphere of WISE 0855. You wouldn't see ammonia. You'd see clouds of water ice and frozen methane, a global blizzard lasting billions of years. You'd feel a cold so absolute that your ship would become as brittle as glass. You'd see a sky that is indistinguishable from the ground, a uniform gray of frozen vapor. It is as if you've entered a planetary-sized freezer that has been left running in an abandoned house. But it gets worse. The real impossibility is its age. It's estimated to be up to 10 billion years old. This means it has been drifting in our neighborhood since before the Earth was born. It's a rogue that has been our silent neighbor for our entire history. This implies that the void is actually packed with frozen, planet-sized corpses that are just as close as the nearest stars. We are living in a graveyard of ice, and we're only just turning on the lights. If you were to stay on this world, you would realize it is a preview of the end of the universe. It is a world where the fire of creation has finally gone out. You would be standing on the future of every planet, a frozen monument to entropy. You're not just alone, you are at the end of time, 7 light years from home. WISE 0855 is the ultimate humbling discovery. It proves the light we live in is a tiny, temporary bubble. We are the sparks in a cold room, convinced the room is made of fire. But this ice giant is the reminder that the room is actually made of ice, and we are the only ones who are still warm. These rogue planets are the universe's secret majority. They remind us that for every star we see, there is a darkness we don't. We are cartographers who've mapped the stars but ignored the ocean they're floating in. The void is not empty, it is full of things that have no sun and no reason to exist. Yet, there they are. Okay, that's it for this one. If you enjoyed it, you know what to do.